Writer's block is a constant, and I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's your first book or if it's your 40th book. We're all going to hit that in the writing process. It's just a real part of writing. And so what I've learned is I have to embrace it, and I have to just recognize that writer's block is real and it's going to show up. So the real question is, okay, so what do I do when it does show up? Because the reality is there's going to be deadlines. And as a writer, especially as someone who is a writer with deadlines, our job is to show up with the words in a publishable format on deadline. That's what we've got to do. And so it's not a question of what's going to happen when writer's block shows up. It's how are we going to break through that? So a couple of things that I've learned through writing 40 books is how do we push through those barriers? A few things that work really well for me is number one, plan for it. It's going to happen. It's a reality. There are going to be days where the words just don't flow. And so plan for it. Build it into your writing schedule. Build in enough flexibility that you can just go, okay, it's going to happen. I don't know necessarily when it's going to happen, but build in a week, build in a couple of weeks so that you can, when it happens, go, okay, this is part of the process. I know it's going to happen. I can walk away for a day. I can walk away for a couple of days. I can do something else creative that's going to feed my soul. That's going to let, as Stephen King calls it, the boys in the basement, work on whatever the plot problem is. And I don't panic, because if I panic, then I freeze, and then it makes writer's block worse. Number two, maybe it means I haven't done enough character work. I might think that I know my characters really well. And for me, this is what happens all the time is I think I know my characters. I've got it all figured out. And I get about 2/3, well, usually not even that far, 40% of the way into the book, and it's not working. And I realize most of the time that means I don't know my characters as well as I thought I do. And I have to back up and I have to do some more deep dive into the characters to go, okay, what's their motivation? What's their dark moment? That's the part I hate. I hate going, what was that thing when you were 12 years old that was just horrible? And often that's what I have to do. The other thing that I don't like, and one of my writing friends is like, you need a happiness journal. Because she's like, what are those happy moments? I'm like, happiness, who cares about that? That's terrible. And she's like, you've got to figure out what's their joy moment. And I'm like, yuck. And so, maybe it's, for some of us, it might be the black moment. For others of us, it might be, what's that happiness thing? What really turns them on? But figuring out what makes those characters more real, because then it's going to make it easier to realize, okay, how are they going to respond to these moments? Another thing is going to be giving yourself permission to walk away and plot for a little bit. Even people who say they're not plotters need a plot. They need those next moments of where's the story going? And so it may be that next what if, it may be that next plot pivot point. For me in the middle of the book, it's like, who am I going to kill? Because I can always kill somebody as someone who writes suspense, and that'll get the plot going again. But every plot needs conflict. So when I get writer's block, it's often going to be the conflict's disappeared. And so it's always just a question of how much of the plotting am I going to do ahead of time? How much of the character development am I going to do ahead of time? And have I given myself enough kind of leeway in between to know writer's block's going to happen. It's part of the process. And have I just built in enough space to be able to walk away, go spend a day with my family, go to a movie, read a book, do something else that's creative so that I can come back to the story. And often in that walking away and doing something different, my subconscious has worked out what that little plot point was that I was all tied up about. And then I can come back to the story and the words start flowing again.